What's up, Will Grant? Welcome back to chatwithwillgrant.com, everybody. Good to be here, Will.
Hey, man, I'm stoked to be here. This is a huge goal, a huge intention of mine. A lot of people know all the injuries and a lot of my story. And I remember when it was at the worst, and I was driving home from the doctor, and they were telling me I may never walk again without pain. I devoted myself. I said, look, I'm going to start to devoting every ounce of energy and time that I have to not only getting out of this knee pain, and then I'll have these tools of these knowledge to learn how to get out of this knee pain to then again share to people from around the world to make us all happy, healthier, and stronger together.
Well, what an appropriate day to have a conversation about overcoming adversity. It's Thor's Day, Will. Did you realize that? It's Thor's Day.
I cannot forget, man. I can't forget. Yes, sir.
Well, let's jump right into this, Will. I know on previous shows we've talked about your knee injury, but I want to talk about the emotional aspect of that first, because I think that was a major driving force for you. You're a professional athlete in a sport where knee performance is probably one of the most important things that you can have, and yours was destroyed secondary to your participation in the sport. So let's start there with the head game of, oh crap.
Yeah. I mean, so I was 16 years old, and when I first became a professional BMX racer, and then 3 months after turning pro, I just fell wrong in pro warm up at some race in Nashville, Tennessee. End up tearing my ACL, my MCL, my PCL, both of my meniscuses, and I didn't know what to do, so I went to a doctor. They gave me a surgery, they fixed it all up. And then my very first race back a year later, I didn't even crash. I just put my foot down in a turn to protect myself from crashing, and end up re-tearing everything, so I had to start over from new. And then, I did the physical therapy, and then it just built up a lot of bad habits of movement, and it built up a lot of imbalances throughout my life. And then my knee pain was okay to ride, but it kind of slowly just kept getting worse and worse. And I became having less movement, and I just felt worse on the bike till eventually it got really bad to where I was 24, 25-year-old professional athlete, and I couldn't walk my dog around the neighborhood without pain. Like every single step started becoming excruciating pain, almost like having a migraine and somebody was punching you in the head on every single step, to where I couldn't even go to the grocery store or anything. And then when I was going to the doctors, they started giving me the cortisone shots that would make it feel better for about 5 days to a week. And then it would just get worse. And then they were just giving me these things to get through the pain, to manage my pain. And then, and it wasn't getting better. So then another doctor gave me a microfracture surgery, which pretty much means they take a drill and they drill out my whole entire knee in hopes that it grows back properly. So almost like giving like a fresh start, but it's a very painful surgery, and a lot of damage was caused. And I was still getting pain afterwards. The pain was not going away. So I ended up going and getting stem cells, so I met with the stem cells, and I was getting stem cells pumped in my knee. I was literally doing everything. And then when I went back to the doctor who gave me the last surgery, say, look, man, like every step I'm still in pain. Every time I try to do anything, it hurts. And then he just said, well, you may feel like that for the rest of your life. Like you may never get out of pain. And that's where really the emotional part kicked in. It was one of the lowest points because I was scared. My whole life has always revolved around what I could physically do, and what I could physically look like. I've been such a physical person my whole entire life. And then all of a sudden to tell me I wasn't going to be able to walk without pain, it was so scary, because like everything that I enjoy doing involves moving, everything that and that's when I just, on that ride home, I devoted myself, like, look, nothing else is important at this point. I don't just want to be able to walk without pain. I want to be climbing mountains into my 50s. I want to be able to go back to racing BMX professionally, and not only just being back, but I want to race better than I've ever raced in my life. And that was my goal. And then as this set in and this became difficult, I realized that this was more about myself, or it was about more than just myself. And that, look, if I really wanted to get through this thing, because everything was looking against me, that I had to, realize that it wasn't about myself, that I had to get out of this, not just for me, but for other people. I wanted all the pain and sweat and tears that I went through to mean something, and that's when I really started devoting my whole life and all my energy into just documenting my process of what was going to make me feel better and what was actually going to heal me. So I started studying, I just started studying healing. I started studying, the people around the world who, when the doctor gave them a diagnosis, that they healed anyway, and I just started studying like all the different things that they were doing. And, I created this plan, not just for myself, but to, because I knew I was going to come across other people with pains and other people who are wanting to get out of knee pain, and, in my hopes to help them. And here I am today speaking on a live chat with people all over the world, and, in hopes to help them get out of knee pain, because, I strongly believe that we are one. Like the stronger and healthier and happier we can be as individuals, the stronger and healthier and happier we will be as a species and as a planet. So just me overcoming my own challenges, and building that strength and building that knowledge to help other people overcome their challenges. That's what this is about, like that's what this is about, of bringing each other up so we can come up as a species.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned something so close to my heart, being in the healthcare industry. You've done something a little bit different that I don't see very often, Will, and that is to take personal responsibility for your own care, so to speak.
Yeah. You have to.
Well, I've heard it said by many of the leaders in healthcare today that they recognize that healthcare has gotten to a point where it is, their words, unfortunate that the patient has to take ultimate responsibility for their care. I think that used to be different years ago, where you could trust and depend on the healthcare system to do what's right. I don't necessarily believe that 100%. And I think you're the personification of that experience.
Yeah. And I did everything the doctors told me to do, and my knee pain was getting worse, like the only thing I didn't do what the doctors recommend was pain pills, and that is because I seen from my childhood that those don't work. My mom ended up breaking her back, and she had all these pains, and she did everything that the doctors told her, and it ended up costing everything, so that was the only thing that I didn't do. So I knew that, look, if I wanted to get better, I had to take responsibility of how I feel and understand that something that I was doing was causing this pain. Because it doesn't matter what surgery or pill or shot that I'm going to take, if I don't fix whatever caused that pain to originally come up, I'm going to end up in the same position, and that's exactly, unfortunately, what happens to so many of us, and kind of what it seems like the system relies on, is for us to just relinquish all responsibility and just say, okay, fix me. But it doesn't work that way. Health doesn't work that way. There's no shot, there's no pill, there's no drug that is just going to make you wake up the next day and feel better. Whatever caused that pain is just signals. Pain is a signal trying to tell our body that, hey, it's screaming at us. It's screaming something needs to be fixed, something needs to be changed, something needs attention and love and care, and for us to just block that out and then go to a doctor and say, give me a pill so I don't hear this, it's just going to make us coming back in the same position in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, to where our pain is getting worse and worse and worse. And that doesn't have to be the case. If we take responsibility of our movement and our feelings and everything that's going on, that's when the power comes in. That's when we have power over the way we feel, by taking responsibility over the way we feel. So this began this journey of just learning what causes knee pain to begin with. Why do we have knee pain? And from everything that I've learned, it's mainly coming down to the same core principles. Like what originally caused the knee pain may be a car crash or some sport accident, or maybe just, bad movement, but the principles of why our pain is coming in our knees stay the same. And it usually comes from imbalances, and we're out of alignment. Pain in our body comes from some muscles in our body being too tight, clenched up, trying to protect itself, and pulling on muscles that are not activating and they're too weak, and it builds this imbalance that now all of a sudden our knee is taking the blunt of it. Now all of a sudden our knees are having to compensate, or our back is having to compensate, and that's what is causing the pain in our body. And and that goes for knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain. It's all just these postural imbalances caused by an injury in the past, or a sports injury, or just some sort of movement pattern that, if we start to understand the language of our body, understand what these pains are trying to tell us, then we could stop and listen and to do what we're supposed to do and what we intend to do to really get out of the pain. And it comes down to the same core principles of why we have knee pain. One is, like I said, is we're out of align. Okay.
Well, before you go there, Will, let me say this. I don't want to get on a soapbox about immediate gratification, but when you're in pain, you want it to go away. So there is a reliance that we innately have on the healthcare system to do exactly that. If I go to the doctor, I'm going to get a little piece of paper that is going to provide me the relief that I seek. I don't necessarily want to have to go do all the work. So it's a mind shift of either being a victim to the pain and living as a victim, or being a victim, or being a victor, or a champion through it. And I think you took the harder route, actually, because from your enhanced awareness, you had to go figure out the solution rather than it be handed to you.
It seems like the harder route up front, right?
Absolutely it does.
But there's nothing more difficult than being stuck in the system, having to see a doctor every year or every month, and going back and realizing that without them, you're in pain. Like, that's the more difficult route. Like, it seems more difficult at first because you don't get that immediate gratification, but that's where all the lessons and all the growth and all the strength is formed, is by taking the correct route. But the correct route, it seems more difficult, but at the end of the day, it's not.
Well, that's the shift that I think has to occur in this first part of our discussion. Before we get into the how and the what, your why has to be established in a desire to be the driver of the ship.
Yeah. Like, you have to understand, like, look, do you want to take an immediate gratification, feel good right now that's just going to make you feel worse tomorrow? Or do you want to just stop and pay attention to what the universe, or what the world, or what your body is trying to tell you, and to actually get out of that pain so you can really flourish as a human being? Because if you're limiting yourself with all of these prescriptions and all of these, all of these things that mask our symptoms, you're never getting out of the problem, and you're battling yourself, and you're thinking that, okay, this immediate gratification is going to help, but it really just makes the whole situation worse. You have to invest in your life. You have to invest in yourself. And if you know anything about money or anything about investment, you have to take that money out of the bank where you don't get to spend it, and then put it towards something that's going to pay you back later, but then you end up richer. You end up more abundant. Life ends up being easier.
Yeah, it's almost like, if we keep with the metaphor, prescription drugs are like a tax, and they never pay you back.
But
in the long
you have
term.
to pay your dues. In the same thing, like, if you want a beautiful life, you got to earn it. You
got to
like,
work for it.
Yeah. Like, you have to. Like I said, you have to pay your dues, and then you have to take responsibility of why we are in the position that we're in, of why our knee hurts, because it's not genetic, it's
born
not,
in pain.
it's not based on this or that. It's based on, really the things that we're going to be talking about here.
All right. So let's move on to that then. I think you said something really important, Will, early on, and I think that's part of your responsibility superpower that you have, was the recognition that you were doing something wrong that was leading to this, and that you needed to figure out what that was. So take me there then to, when did you decide, or how did you decide alignment might be the issue? And where did you go to seek understanding about that?
It was in all different areas, kind of all at the same time, but if you seek, you will find. And that's exactly what happened. Like, I was just in a position where I was scared, and I was willing to do anything, so I just started studying movement. I started studying who was feeling better and who was healing better,
Well, you were a personal trainer. You kind of understood biomechanics to some degree, right? You kind of knew how the body moved, but this is a different level of awareness.
Yeah, but I
About.
did. But being a personal trainer almost hindered me in a lot of ways. Because after that second surgery, I was a personal trainer certified with one of the best certifications, and I thought I knew everything, right? And then, so I don't need to go to physical therapy. I know how to strengthen my legs and strengthen my body. Like, I could do this, and that's what caused, like, physical therapy is meant to turn on all of the muscles that were turned off through the surgery, right? So when you have a surgery, and usually even or before that, all these muscles are turned off. Like I said, like, that's the out of alignment. And then, so that physical therapy is meant to turn on, say, your glutes or your hamstrings or all these muscles that support your knee or support whatever injury that was. And that's really what I skipped, because, I just thought, oh, I can squat again, so I must be good, so I started focusing just on my squats and getting my squat up, and I got to squatting over 400 pounds. But then my knee was just feeling worse and worse and worse with every squat and every gait and every training session that I did. And so what got me into alignment was just studying people that knew the answer, and I was, planning to go in this towards the end, but I just started learning from somebody named Ido Portal. Ido Portal is like, if Wim Hof is the Iceman, and he's the man of ice and breath, Ido Portal is the man on movement. Do you know who he is?
I don't. Tell me about him.
Yeah. Ido Portal is this guy from Israel who's just been studying movement his whole entire life, and he understands movement more than anyone I've came across ever. And I just watched a documentary of him on London Reel called Just Move. And it just made me rethink about how movement is and about how we're meant to move and use our body. It's not, as a personal trainer thinks, in these mechanical movements of like this or these squats. That's not how our bodies are designed to mechanic. Like biology is interesting, where like it's not like our body doesn't work mechanically, like in the movement aspect of, because just by switching our elbows in a different place, we're going to use a completely different muscle and completely different systems, as opposed to in mechanics, it's just you move it from A to B, and these are the things that do it.
There's one plane of motion, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. But in movement, but with our bodies, we can move and use, and just by moving our elbows a little bit, we engage completely different muscles. And then over time of not knowing how to do it, it builds an out of alignment. And that's when I learned about really Move You, because I came home from a really bad crash one night, and my roommate told me about this Instagram page called Move You. And that's what made me realize, like, holy cow, all of my pains are just based because I'm pretty much out of align, so like if I'm having shoulder pain, it's because my chest and shoulders are too tight, pulling on, these muscles who aren't activating, and then it's pushing everything forward and puts all this pressure on my lower back, and that puts the pressure on my knee, and realizing that our body works as one moving whole piece, so, the more engaged and stronger our feet are, the more stable our knees are. And the better that our knees are in a better position, then the stronger that our hips are. And the stronger that our hips are, the stronger everything is, right? And then just learning how it all kind of works together. And it just was a process, a process of seeking. And when you seek, you find. And just so many people are here today because they're seeking, right? And that's the way to learn, is just, you got to know what you want. Hey, I want to get out of knee pain. That's what I'm going to seek. Now, all of a sudden, the answers start coming to you. That's when Ido Portal ended up on my news feed, right? Because I was searching knee pain. I was searching movement. Like my roommate, seeing me struggling with pain, he knew of something, so he shared this with me, and that's how it works. If you put that out there, it comes in. And then, it just came back to just out of alignment, and then I started feeling the difference, right? So as I was learning about Moveu and I was learning about Ido Portal, I started feeling the instant difference of like, my knee was slowly getting better every day, right? It was getting a little bit stronger and I was feeling less and less pain. But like I said, you don't just wake up one day and all of a sudden, oh my God, I'm out of pain. I can't believe it. It's a miracle. Like I don't know too many cases of it happens like that, right?
Right.
So it's a scheduled process, or it's a gradual, steady process that goes and goes and goes to some days I had good days and some days I had bad days. So I started taking note of what were my good days and what were my bad days. And I noticed that my good days were coming from a good morning routine of making sure my glutes were engaged and being super aware of how I was moving. And my bad days were where I was tired and stressed and worried about other things and not as mindful of my movement. And then, so I was just being out, and when I could finally, because I was stuck in my house for over a year, almost 2 years of being stuck in my house, figuring this out because I couldn't even leave my house without pain, right? And then the doctors, a doctor was pumping me with stem cells, and I was doing everything I can to make sure that this did its job. So I was not moving pretty much at all, and I was just studying how this worked. But then as I started to get out, I started realizing small little cues. Okay, now all of a sudden I've been walking all day, but now my knee's hurting. So what's going on? So I would just instantly start stacking my bones and try to put my body in as perfect alignment as I can. Because look, you can see right here, right? Does my back look kind of straight? Right?
Yeah.
So if my head is a little bit far forward, right? If you understand geometry in any way, where does that pressure go?
Yeah.
Pressure goes on your lower back and on your knees, right? So just as simple as something as simple as having your head too far forward puts, like, your head is pretty heavy. That's putting all that pressure right on your knee. So by stacking up your head, putting it above your heart, stacking your head above your heart, that's one simple cue. I recommend writing it down. Leading with your heart, having your head over your heart, that instant little cue took a little bit pressure off my knee, right? And when I was on that line to where anything bad I did hurt my knee and anything good I did felt better, I noticed these small, tiny little cues of just stacking my head, right? And another thing was just tight hips. Tight hips, when your hips are tight, that means your glutes are probably not engaging, and that's putting all of that pressure, all of that compensation on our knee, right? And tight hips come from sitting in chairs, sitting in couches, and sitting, like, you notice me, I'm on the ground, right? Yeah. So because when you're sitting, and when I first started doing this, sitting on the ground was extremely uncomfortable, Edwin. And why do you think that is? Why is sitting on the ground? Because for thousands and thousands of years as human beings, this is where we sat.
We didn't have chairs.
We only had chairs and couches for a few hundred years, or maybe 1,000 years, right? But for the, 50,000 years that we've been in existence at least, we only had couches and chairs for a small amount of that, right? And when we sit on the ground, all of that part that's extremely uncomfortable that's in our hips, guess what? It's screaming at us. It's telling us, hey, I'm tight. But as you're sitting on the ground, those tight spots, they loosen, they relax, right? And then to hold yourself stable, those muscles that aren't engaging, like those back muscles, they have to engage to keep you up straight. And then all of a sudden, when you are standing and moving and walking, your body's in so much better alignment because your hips are not so tight. They're relaxed, they're released, they're moving properly, they're working well. So your knees aren't having to overwork all the time, right? So, I mean, and one of the most important things that I've learned through all of this, when I've seen all the top physical therapists, when I've actually finding stuff that really helped, it all came down to my glutes, my butt cheeks, right? And the stronger that your glutes are, the better your knees are going to be working, right? And I promise you, 9 times out of 10, 99% of the people who have knee pain, their glutes are not activating, right? And what do you think causes that, Edwin?
Sitting too much.
Sitting too much. You are spot on, because when you're sitting on a couch, your core completely disengages, your glutes turn off, your chest gets tight, your quads get really tight, your hip flexors get tight, and your glutes and hamstrings just turn off. They completely relax. Much like if you're wearing shoes with big soles, it just turns off your feet, okay? And then when you do start walking and moving around, your glutes aren't activating, so then your knee is having to compensate for that. And same thing with your feet. So like I said, our body works as a chain. So if your knee's really bothering you, you want to look at the next links to the chain. Okay?
Up and down from the knee?
Up and down, up and down.
Okay.
So look, if your knee's bothering you, you want to look at your hips and you want to look at your feet, because those are most likely two weak points that are causing your knee to overcompensate.
So I remember Andrew talking about this on one of our previous conversations, but I never considered feet. Why don't
Hold on. For those of you guys who don't know, Andrew is the co-creator of Moveu. Moveu is the Move University. That's the course that I learned so much about getting out of pain from. And he was actually our guest on 2 episodes ago. So highly recommend watching that if you do have knee pain as well. But anyways, go on.
Well, I didn't expect him to talk about the feet. I appreciated the way he started his self-evaluation from literally from head to toe, you know, head pulled up, chin back, chest out, hips. But the feet confused me a little bit. Why don't we start there with, you know, strength? You've talked about strengthening the glutes, but your feet, seriously? How do you strengthen your feet?
Okay, so your feet and your glutes are like the first places you want to look if you're struggling with knee pain, right? And because most likely if they're not turning on, if they're not working, if they're not doing their job, that means that your knee is going to have to overcompensate. And that's what causes the wear and tear and the degradation, I think maybe that's a word.
Yeah, that's a word, but I would just go get new shoes, cushioned shoes, Will.
Yeah, and that's the pill, right? That's the pill, is because why are our feet turned off? And it's, you know, it's almost the same way, like, why are our feet not strong enough to protect our knee? Why does this originally happen? And just like couches are the reason why our glutes turn off, shoes are actually the reason why our feet turn off, right? Because our body has a tendency to save, it wants to save as much energy as possible, right?
Yeah.
So when you put shoes on with big, thick soles, right? What job is that taking over? Actually, it's taking the jobs of your ligaments. It's taking the jobs of your joints, you know, of being able to compress. And it's taking the job of your feet to be able to use the muscles inside your feet to be your foundation, right? So when you wear shoes, your feet turn off. So I promise you, if you wear shoes all the time and you don't go barefoot often, if you take your shoes off, you can't wiggle your feet that much. You can't strengthen, you know, if you squeeze your feet in as tight as you can, it's probably going to cramp. And that's because it spends too much time off. You know, I recommend everybody who's in on this chat trying that. Take your shoes off and try to wiggle your toes, right? And if you don't have the movement or the awareness, it means your feet aren't working on any of the steps that you're taking, right? If you can't take your feet and wiggle your toes and squeeze them like this as tight as you can, and if they don't, or if they cramp, it means they're too weak, right? And that's becoming from shoes. So just to be able to strengthen your feet, because these are all muscles, right? These are all muscles that are our foundation. Our foundation is one of the most important aspects to building this strong, healthy body, is our strong feet. And on top of that, gravity pulls everything to our feet. So all of your bad imbalances, all of your toxic things that you take in, it gets pulled down to your feet, okay? Everything, your feet get the worst of everything. So to take care of your feet is to take care of your health.
Yeah, but Will, now you're making me angry, because look, these are beautiful. Look at that heel. That's an amazing heel. And
those
now
are bad.
I can't wear them. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, you can wear them. Just know that they're making you unhealthier and sicker and not as strong, right? When you have that thick, like that shoe is a perfect example. All that cushion stops your joints and ligaments from being your cushion. Because your body wants to save its energy. Hey, you know, the shoes are doing the work, so I can put more energy into my texting or into my computer ring, right? So then all of a sudden, every single step that you take, instead of the joints and ligaments in your knee being that compression aspect and that feet being that strength, then your shoes are just compressing. So if your shoes are taking the movement, guess what is not moving? Your joints and ligaments. That's so every step it just gets banged and banged and banged and banged, right? So giving yourself that strong feet is just like engaging those strong hips. And to strengthen your feet and strengthen your glutes and strengthen your hips, your knee will instantly, if you want to talk about immediate gratification, when your knee's hurting, sit down and lay on the ground and spread apart your toes. Put your fingers in between your toes and just start loosening up your feet, right? Get on the ground and loosen up your hips, and then guess what? Your knees will loosen up, okay? And that's instant gratification that actually gives you sustainable long-term results.
So look, let's continue this discussion about feet, because I find this fascinating. Then, you know, people will also buy shoes to change the way their feet pronate. So you've got, how do you know when your alignment is naturally with your toes pointed out, or you might have one pointed in, or should I try to walk straight because my feet want to do this, but I need to concentrate and keep them pointed straight? That seems like stress on your knees if you're trying to do something contrary to where they naturally point. So when do you know too far is too far?
Just being mindful and listen, you know, like, you know, deep down inside, like, you know, if something is bad for you or good for you, you know, and if you don't know, sit for 20 minutes with it. Sit down with no distractions and just sit for 20 minutes. But that's the beautiful thing about being barefoot is, like, so for example, if you have an imbalance, right? And this is something specifically, like, I had all the knee issues that were caused by my glutes and feet not activating. So my feet was a little bit tilted out, right? So then when I'm wearing those shoes with the cushion, it would almost exaggerate that motion, right? Like, it would make that problem worse. But when you're barefoot and when you step on a hard surface, what do you think gives?
Yeah.
Right? If the ground doesn't give, your foot
give. Has to.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're walking on the better places of your feet. But then again, like, I'm telling you this, but it's a gradual process. I promise you, if you wore shoes your whole entire life, just taking your shoes off and being barefoot, it could almost make your knee hurt a little bit more at first because your feet are having to work so much, right? So if you haven't done this, I don't recommend just going barefoot and running a marathon barefoot and you say, oh, I'm strengthening my body. No, like, you want to start slow. And that's why strengthening your glutes are so important, because that's what's really going to support your knee. You know, the feet are very, very gradual and very, very sensitive. You know, I would slowly start working on just being barefoot more and exercising your feet. And one of the best ways to exercise your feet and glutes really all in one is a balancing exercise. So like, when I was struggling with my knee pain, I had certain movements that I noticed was making my knees feel better every day. Okay. One was just strengthening my glutes, balancing, and squat sits. But balancing is a beautiful thing, because think about the word balance, right? And if you think about pain, of what I just said, pain is coming from an imbalance, right? So by practicing your balance, you're literally working on your pain. So for example, to balance on one foot, what has to happen to find balance? Those tight muscles have to relax, okay? Those weak muscles have to engage, right? So if you set a timer for 1 minute, and this is what I did every single morning. I set a timer for 1 minute, sometimes 2, and I balanced on one foot, right? And what that did, and after a minute of balancing on one foot, my feet were burning. My glutes were burning. My feet and glutes were instantly burning because it was needing to turn on those weak muscles to keep my balance. And I was having to relax my tight hip flexors, and I was having to relax the tight parts in my feet. And then all of a sudden I just start feeling a little bit better that day because I started my day with my glutes and my feet engaged. So every step that day started on a little bit better of a note.
Yeah, that's interesting. Will, ever since we started this conversation, Chat with Will Grants, and you've made me so aware of so many things. This is a stand-up desk in my office. I've been standing here barefooted most of the time, and it did hurt to start off with, but you know
Yeah.
what? It got substantially better. And then I find myself standing on one leg, with my other foot in my knee. And it's amazing just after a few weeks of doing that, how strong your feet and
Yeah.
your balance improves.
So think about it like this, like our hands are very close to our feet. So I'm using the hands. So look, if this is the ground and this is our feet are supposed to be almost like this, where they're gripping the ground, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they're activated, they're strong, right? When you wear shoes, the shoes are doing the job, so your feet are just flat and everything is collapsing into your foot and collapsing into your knee, right? So when you first take those shoes off, your feet are still going to be like this,
Yeah.
right? So then that's going to be collapsing right into your knee, but then that's going to be slowly it's going to force you to start turning your feet on naturally, like the way we're designed to do, right? So
Yeah.
then it's going to just start working a little bit better, and it's still going to get sore. Like I said, it doesn't happen overnight. The goal is to get better than yesterday. Like this is a lifelong journey to not just live without pain, but to keep strengthening those knees, right?
Yeah.
Keep progressing those things. And then you start building up this protection, this cage of those nice strong feet gripping the ground, and those joints and ligaments using as those cushion, working, the way they're supposed to.
Yeah. And I haven't had a cramp in my foot in weeks. So
Yeah.
I know I'm on the right path, Will.
Or if you haven't had a cramp in your foot in weeks, it means you haven't been challenging your feet enough, right?
No, I have been challenging the hell out of my feet. I pick up pencils. I'm in the
Okay.
grass trying to pull grass out of the ground. No, they're being challenged, I promise.
Yeah, well, like one awesome exercise that I'll give you guys to really strengthen your feet is, like Edwin said, is trying to pick stuff up with your feet, because that's going to build your connection, raise your connection, as well as your strength. Being able to grip your feet are so important to be able to release your knees. I'm going to say that again because it's extremely important. Being able to grip with your feet is so important to be able to releasing your knees, because when you grip your feet and engage your glutes, your knees can relax. Okay.
Wow.
Oh, and the next exercise is grabbing a towel or anything and laying it on the ground, and then just squeezing that feet and letting it go. Squeezing that feet, holding it for 3, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, engage, like flexing that feet like you're flexing your bicep, and just squeezing that in. And if you do that a couple times a week or every single morning, like literally after one session of 3 sets of 10, you'll feel your knees are more released because your feet are really engaged.
Yeah.
And your glutes are the same way.
So as far as realignment is concerned, Will, there it does have to be an understanding of what I guess the professionals call normal range of motion. I mean, you do need to be aware of the plane of movement of the knee, how the foot is supposed to move. I mean, that level of knowledge is important, right? I mean, you had to relearn what you thought about movement of certain joints, and then you put in practices to exercise those muscles, joints, tendons, ligaments around a different range of motion. Am I hearing you right? That you had to have an enhanced knowledge of good movement.
Well, we all have different ranges of motion. Like I can't compare my range of motion to your range of motion, and you should never compare your range of motion to someone like Andrew.
Yeah, I'm old as dirt, and he can bend all kinds of different ways.
So it's like everybody's on a different journey, but the important is defining our range of motion, right? So can you move your feet? Can you move your ankles? Just working through, like that's why yoga is so good. Yoga is so good because it puts your body through almost all of these different range of motions. And when we put our body through a full range of motion, it does a much better job at sitting in the correct range of motion.
Okay, well, that's a good point then. I never thought of yoga as a way to become aware of the full range of motion.
Yeah, 100%. But I wouldn't overthink, oh, my knee has to be in this position all day. I wouldn't think that way, because one, that's just going to drive you crazy, and that's just going to, that's not how it works. Our knee's supposed to be in all different positions. No matter what the books tell you, like that's one thing that I learned from Ido Portal. Our body's not supposed to move like this. It's supposed to move like this. Like we can move in all different areas. And by getting that different ranges of motion is what allows our body to be healthy and to get that blood and oxygen into all those different places. So
what you're saying is if I can't dance, I've got major problems and I need to start Move You right now.
No, but if you can't dance, just the practice of trying to dance is what can heal you.
There you go.
Okay. So like just being able to, move your knees in and out where like at first this could be extremely difficult, but do what feels good. Don't cause yourself any pain. Listen to
don't create injury.
Yeah. That's why it becomes really important to listen to your body and to trust yourself. Know what's good because deep down inside. But just to be able to move your knees in all different positions, that's what keeps them healthy. Don't be so scared to move your knee in a wrong position, because your body will tell you immediately if it doesn't like something.
Yeah.
Immediately.
So again,
and that's what your body is telling you if you're having knee pain of, hey, it doesn't like something needs to be realigned and reaffixed. And if you, like I said, if you are with knee pain, the first two places you want to check are your feet, making sure they're engaging and they're strong, and your glutes, making sure they're engaged and strong. That's why things, if we're done with the feet, glutes are so important, making sure those are just turning on and they're strong.
But there's another muscle group in between there. The quads, I have heard, are wonderful knee stabilizers. And where I see a lot of the problem these days is in disproportionate bodybuilders who do only hip up exercise, and they've got tinier legs, disproportionate to the rest of their body. And it seems like they all have knee problems at some point because they have no quadricep muscle.
If you have a weak foundation, because if they're not exercising their legs, they're definitely not exercising their feet.
Exactly.
Right? And then they got this big, strong, heavy upper body that is just collapsing into their knees and feet.
Yeah.
So like it goes down to build your foundation.
Well, we've got that problem in the elderly too, Will. You got heavier than normal Americans living longer. They have bigger torsos. They have small butts, or no butt at all. I'm looking at my father. His butt's shrinking. His legs are small, but he's not a heavy man. But nonetheless, they don't think about exercising to maintain the foundation.
Yeah. They don't, and it's something that it seems like, one of the most beautiful things about the internet is we can learn from the smartest people all over the world, and realize that, hey, all the we don't need to go somebody with a white coat to get information. There's information all over the world to realize that, learning from people like Ido Portal and learning from people like Moveu and Zach Bush and Dr. Joe Dispenza, there's so many different people that we can learn from on how to heal and how to get out of our pain.
Yeah. So, well, let's talk about that then, Will. I think most people are wanting to leave here with some kind of actionable plan. You have curated a lot of health and wellness and fitness content into some routines, and you practice those routines. They're almost like habits for you. You've created new belief systems that drive these morning and daily habits. You want to run through those real quick just to solidify for people what that looks like?
Yeah, so it's going to be different for everybody, so that's why it's so important to know where you're at and to stop and listen. So I realized that, look, there were all these things like strengthening my glutes and strengthening my feet, and strengthening, and realigning my body. I had to carve out time in my schedule to just devote towards that practice, and that's why having a good morning routine to making sure those glutes are activated and making sure those feet are turned on for the day, and then a good evening routine to relax all the muscles that build up. You know, our quads are going to get tight, our hips are going to get tight, our feet are going to get tight. So to carve out time in the morning and in the evening to get on the ground. That
off the couch and on the ground.
Get on, like, get a mat, get a yoga mat, get something, get a carpet. I don't know. Just get on the ground for some time in the morning to activate those points like your glutes, and at nighttime to relax those tight tension points. And if you don't know what to do, I mean, one, we've given you a big list right here, okay?
Yeah.
So engage your feet, do your toe curls. I didn't give you exercises and ways to strengthen your glutes, which I can, but strengthen your glutes, and then and then an evening routine just to get on the ground and just to listen. What is tight? Are my hips tight? Are my legs tight? And just to breathe and to start stretching in to what's tight. But I do want to go into ways to strengthen your glutes, and before we get into the next thing, because that's so important, because that was the biggest factor. The stronger I made my glutes, the less pressure and less my knee had to work. Okay. So what I want every single person to do, if they're sitting or standing, is I want you to put your two hands just under your butt cheeks. Okay. You know, and this works really well if you're laying on your back, because it's the easiest if you're just laying on the ground on your back. But if you're standing, it's okay. Just put one hand on each butt cheek and try to engage one glute at a time. One glute at a time, without flexing your quad or without flexing anything else. These are glute pops. And if you struggle with this, like if you struggle to engage one butt cheek at a time, I promise you every step during a day, your glutes are probably struggling to turn on, right? If you can't engage your glutes by sitting there and putting all your focus on them, it's not going to engage when you're not thinking about it. Okay, so just to sit down and practice, if you can't do this every single day, especially in the mornings, to make sure these glutes are activating, to lay down, set a timer for 3 minutes, set a timer for 5 minutes, whatever you have, 20 reps or 30 reps, just try to practice engaging one glute at a time and holding it for 3 seconds, relaxing, holding it for 3 seconds on the next one. And that is a glute pop. I want you to make this easy to where you can do it in standing, with your feet in, your feet out, in all different positions. That's just going to make sure your glutes are okay to activate, and they're going to be turning on.
And you know what? You could do that and nobody knows you're doing the exercise.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do it on the train ride to work. You could do it in your car. You could really do that a lot of different places.
Yeah. All day, doing the dishes, brushing your teeth. Every single step that you take, you can be really mindful and trying to engage each glute while taking that step, right? And yeah, that's so important. See, I want to show you guys something, if you guys can see. So, for example, most people who are walking, right? They're leaning forward and they're stepping forward and they're collapsing into it, right? This is what I call a K-shaped walking. You notice they're here, and it's like this. They're collapsing into the front of them because their whole front is forward, right? As opposed to, like I said, the head stacked over your heart, and then guess what you really use to walk? Your glute. Instead of stepping and collapsing, you actually use your glute to thrust yourself forward. This engages to thrust yourself forward. But if you're here, it's all collapsing forward.
Gravity's doing all the work.
Yeah, as opposed to a strong back, using those muscles to thrust my body forward. And that's why it's so important to make sure that your feet and glutes are super strong.
That's you will. I never thought about walking that way.
That's something I learned from Tony Riddle, by the way. You know, he's someone I haven't mentioned yet. But Tony Riddle is like the Barefoot mat. He's taught me so much about ground living and bare feet, and learning a lot from him, especially on the Rich Roll podcast, has helped me a lot just getting out of my knee pain. So there's another reference for you guys as well. So, and the next exercise is, this is what all the good physical therapists that I've seen, this is what they had me do. Okay. If you have knee pain, this is the exercise you want to put into every single one of your workout routines. I recommend putting it into your morning routine, okay? And it's a glute bridge. It's just learning how to turn on your glutes, okay? And I'm gonna show you guys, making sure you guys can see me. And it's super, super simple. Bring your feet close so maybe your hands can touch your feet, okay? You guys can find pelvis neutral. So you don't want to be too arched, you don't want to be too forward. So put that lower back on the ground, engage your core, and drive off your heels and your glutes to the sky, okay? And this is how you're learning to engage those glutes. And to make it harder, you can do one leg at a time, okay? You can bring here, you can do reps.
So when you have your knee up, Will, is that one butt cheek turned on and one off?
So, yeah. So look, when you're doing this, has both at a time.
Right.
You're getting them both working. You're getting both engaged. These are really good. If you're struggling with knee pain, try to sit in that position for a minute to just get those glutes turning on and activated, and you'll feel muscles that you lost the relationship with, okay? And oh, wait a minute, I am here. And those are the muscles you want to start working with, because those are the muscles that are going to help your knee from hurting, okay? So yeah, you can do one leg, and to make it easy, one knee up, and you can just drive that one glute at a time. And to make it harder, you can even straighten it out, okay? And then to make it even way better, that's going to involve your upper body too. Because if you notice, I mentioned a lot of our problems with our knee can be from our shoulders being far forward, because that puts that pressure on our knee. So you could even do the same thing. And this, when I was struggling with my knee pain and figuring out how to get out of my knee pain, I did this every day for a minute, okay? And I did the bridge with the upper body too. So just by driving my chest and driving my hips up, and this can be very difficult, you know, especially if you have knee pain, which probably means you have weak glutes, that it's going to be a difficult position to do. So yeah, that is the reverse plank bridge, and do that for a minute, and doing those exercises, those glute bridges to engage those glutes without having to work anything else. And I think the word is reciprocal inhibition, one of those big words I learned from Dr. Mike, but it's something to do with, you know, our body is on these pulleys, okay? So for example, if we have a tight muscle, it means the antagonist muscle is probably weak, okay? If we have a muscle that isn't turning on, it means, you know, our antagonist muscle is probably too tight. So for example, to flex my bicep, my triceps have to relax. To flex my triceps, my biceps have to relax, right? So if all of our knee pain is coming from tight hip flexors and tight quads, so when we engage our glutes, guess what has to relax? Okay? So by pressing that up, you are stretching what's too tight, at the same time strengthening what's too weak. And this is your alignment. This is your balance. And this is what gets you out of knee pain.
Okay. So just a quick question, Will. I've seen that bridge that you talked about, but I know that's a more advanced movement. Is the goal to be your lower limbs 90 degrees to your upper thigh 90 degrees, and then your arms are 90 degrees? So you need to be a table. Where does your head go? Is it relaxed in back, or is your chin forward?
There's the mechanical thinking.
Yeah.
You know? Okay. See, the goal is to do the best you can.
Oh, well, damn it. No, I need to know the right answer, Will.
Yeah. Like, so look, when you're first starting out, you can only get to here. That's okay. But the goal is to do the best you can, driving your hips to the ceiling and engaging your glutes. That's the goal. Okay. Don't worry about some perfect shape. Okay. Because my shape's going to be different than yours. Don't worry about this perfect shape or this perfect movement. Just try to move and feel and listen to your body.
Yeah. I think that is a major holdup that people have, is that the focus is always on the form. And when I can't do it perfectly, then I might as well give up.
Yeah. You know, and that mindset is what holds us back from really healing. You know, it's that practice of trying to learn how to get a little bit more engagement in the glutes to try to make your glutes a little bit stronger. It's not that you're trying to have the strongest glutes in the world. You're just trying to have stronger glutes than yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, it's not like you're trying to be able to run a marathon, but you're just trying to have less knee pain than yesterday. Okay. And that's the goal, and that's
Those are great
goal.
points, Will. Great points.
Yeah. Oh, and I also so I went over the two, strengthening your feet and all the exercises that you can do to strengthen your feet. I went through the glutes. Oh, another really good one is clam shells. Okay. Hopefully you can see that, but look, just putting your feet like this, heels together, and just bringing this, like this simple movement. One rep just burnt my glutes on fire right here, and just squeezing that. And that's how to target just your glute muscle. And just do a few reps of those and take a few steps, and you'll notice there's less pressure on your knee. Okay. Okay. So we went over a few exercises to engage your glutes. I want to go over a few different things to help your alignment. Okay. Because you can strengthen these muscles, which are going to help a lot, but you want to be moving in alignment. Because if your shit is out of align, every step is going to be hurting instead of every step helping, right? And I'm going to give you 3 ways, and I highly recommend writing it down to just help your alignment, okay? The number 1 thing that I use to help align my lower body correctly is squat sits, okay? And if you have knee pain, this will be probably the most difficult thing, okay? So this is a squat sit, being in this position comfortably, okay? What a lot of people don't realize is this is actually a human being resting position. This is naturally how we're supposed to be resting. This is naturally how we're supposed to be just relaxing. We're eating, we're shitting, we're talking. Like, this is a human being position. But because of all the chairs and all the couches and all these things, we lose this position, and we lose that mobility, that range of motion, okay? But to sit in this position, guess what's happening? All of those muscles that are too tight have to relax. And all those muscles that are, not engaging, they have to turn on just to find the stability. And you're folding everything that doesn't get that blood and doesn't get that oxygen. And this will quite literally help you rebalance and realign your whole lower body.
So
okay?
This position evolves over time. You start squat sitting, and then you kind of fall into your comfort zone of what your squat sit looks like.
Okay. So
again, I'm trying not to think mechanical.
Yeah. So give yourself a minute. So this is what I did. Just like a minute on the balance of each leg. I gave myself every single morning, I had to wake up and do a squat sit. One of the first things I did. Okay. And it was so difficult. At first, when I'm doing this squat sit, I'm like, I'm all out of line. My knees are hurting so bad. And I had to stand up and just grab a breath. Right. And then I got back down, and then just setting that time, or just setting that timer for a minute and just doing the best you can. Okay. If you need to hold on to a door or hold on to a table, that's okay, but just 1 minute every day. And the biggest difference I felt from this is, I remember, because when I was struggling with all of that knee pain, when I went to the gym, it took me 30, 40 minutes to loosen up my knee enough to be able to work out, right? But when I started doing that every single day, every morning, in about 2 to 3 weeks, my legs and my knees felt fresher just waking up out of bed than they did when I was warmed up for 40 minutes ready to squat.
Wow.
It was crazy, because I was getting all this extra blood and oxygen into these places that don't usually get it, and I was working that range of motion. Working that range of motion is more important than any specific being in certain motion,
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah, those squat sits are super. And then one that we already mentioned is floor living. Getting on the ground will naturally just rebalance and loosen up those hips, which will make those knees feel better. If your knees are hurting, get off the couch and get on the ground, because that couch is just hurting you. Throw that couch away, honestly.
Yeah. So these aren't big routines or big shifts in behavior. These are a few minor things that you can build into your schedule that aren't going to create a whole nother routine that's going to eat up all of this time. it's just a simple shift. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, give yourself 10 minutes a day if that's all you got. 10 minutes in the morning to do your balances, to do your squat sits, to do your glute bridges, to strengthen your feet, and to get a little movement and blood flow around. And at nighttime, get on the ground and just relax that tension buildup. Yeah. Breathe into those tight hips, breathe into those tight knees, spread those toes around a little bit. It's screaming at you. Most likely if your wife is screaming at you, she probably needs some attention. She probably needs something, like if your kid's screaming at you, if someone's screaming at you, they need your attention for something. That's why they're screaming.
And you can't just say shut up, because it's only going to get worse.
They're just going to scream louder. Our body is speaking to us all day. We just don't know the language, so we only hear it when it's screaming at us, and then we're not sure what it's saying. We just know it's screaming. Yeah. But if you dedicate time every single day to learning the language of your body, listening to the feelings and the pains that you're having, and understanding what your body's trying to tell you, then you're ahead of the problem. Mm-hmm. Then as soon as your body starts talking to you, hey, raise your head up. Hey, engage your feet. Hey, engage your glutes. So then it doesn't get to the point where it has to scream at you. Okay? And then the third one that's going to help you to realign is pelvic tilts. Okay? Pelvic tilts is kind of what I showed you on the glute bridge, but just getting this range of motion here and a full range of motion. Big breath in, arching that back, and then exhale, driving that lower back into the ground. Big inhale, and then exhale.
So you're trying to take away the arch of your back by making your spine flat against the floor.
No, you're trying to go through a full range of motion. So you're trying to arch your back all the way backwards, and then you're actually trying to arch your back all the way forward. Okay? And you're just here, and you can do pelvic tilts in literally any position.
Gotcha.
And just by, and that was one of the first things that I learned from Moveu, was just to release my hips, release my knee, right? Because if my hips are a little bit too far this way, right, then my hip flexors are tight, I'm having a hip impingement, and then that pressure is all on my knee. But if it's all stacked correctly, then it's all in a line, it's moving properly, my glutes are engaged. Okay?
Yep.
And that's what it comes down to, is those pelvic tilts. Okay?
Wow. So Will, we've covered a lot of why, we've covered a lot of what, we even talked about some how. Other things, Wim Hof breathing, cold showers, we've talked about before. You've got tons of videos that illustrate your morning routine that seem doable and effective.
I was at a point where my goal was just to feel better. I was feeling so bad physically, I was feeling so bad mentally, that my goal was just to feel better. So then I made a morning routine built with these habits to align myself with that goal. What's going to make me feel better? What's going to heal my body? Because if I wanted to affect anything else in my external environment, I had to first take control of what's going on in here. Okay? So those are the things that I changed. My morning routine, my evening routine. I already mentioned yoga was extremely beneficial to just learning how to connect with the oneness of my body. Okay? To understand that the way you're using your feet will impact the way you're using your knees and your hips, and the way your heart is pumping affects the way your knees are working. Yoga helped me to put me through these full range of motions and to connect it with breath, to bring back the oneness of my body. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure yoga means something like that. Do you know?
I thought he was a Star Wars character. Sorry, that was a terrible joke.
All right, well, I'm pretty sure yoga means something to do with oneness. I could be wrong. I'm no yoga guru. But another thing that really helped is improving your nutrition. Like, what we eat plays an impact on what we get. If you're having knee pain, if you're having any pain, if you're having any health issues, especially if you're overweight, like if you're overweight and if you're having knee pain, just losing 20 pounds or losing 10 pounds will take so much pressure off your knees. Right?
That's what any surgeon will tell you before they have surgery. You need to lose weight.
Yeah. I mean, if you have if you're overweight, everything has to work harder. Your heart, your arteries, your lungs, your knees, everything has to work harder. You know, if you're, but not just being overweight, just improving your nutrition. Even if you are not overweight, by eating real foods, processed foods is not doing anything for you, but making your body have to work harder to process that toxic food, right? So all of our medicine, all of our stuff that actually regenerates and heals our body is in our foods, right? Is in our foods. And if they're organically grown, you have to be careful, because the stuff that's sprayed with the Roundup and sprayed with the glyphosate quite literally blocks the ability for us to access the real medicine in our food. So buying organic food and getting real food, carrots, cucumbers, stuff that grows from the earth, you know, like Brussels sprouts, broccoli, just real food that grows from the earth. And if you grow it yourself, it's even better. That's why I started growing my own food, because when I started researching all these people who were healing when they weren't supposed to heal, they had 7 different factors that they all had in common, okay? And one of them was their diet. They were eating some sort of organic, locally grown food, grown in their yard. Start a garden. You know, it's only going to help you. You know, it's only going to help the earth. It's only going to, you know, invite new lessons of learning. And growing your own food is one of the best things that you could do for yourself and your family. And because that's where the medicine is. That's where the nutrients is to rebuild ourselves, because our body is constantly working for us to constantly work on rebuilding and regenerating, right? It's the stress and the toxicity that limits and stops our body from being able to do its job, right? If you look in nature, you constantly see grace, you know, and that's something I learned from Zach Bush constantly. If you take toxic land where we're spraying all these chemicals and, you know, plowing it and doing all these damaging things just to back off it and let nature do its thing, it's going to naturally start to regenerate itself, you know, and you see lessons of grace all over nature and all over within ourselves. If you just stop doing what's causing the damage, your body can start healing itself. Okay.
It's pretty amazing, Will, since you have got me on the permaculture kick. My wife and I have started Googling that a lot just to see what we could do in our yard. And it's amazing how my Facebook feed has changed now. All my ads are about people with designs on how to turn your backyard into a fully sustainable garden, organic. Yeah. So there's information out there on how to do
exactly that. If you seek, you find.
There you go. Well, no, if you seek, it comes to you in your Facebook feed.
Exactly. Hey, these AI algorithms know us better than we do.
That's right.
Like they know what you're looking for, and they're going to give you the stuff that you want to watch.
There you go.
So if you're looking for the answers, they're going to give you what you're looking for. You know, it's crazy how that works. I'm pretty sure Amazon is knowing when women are pregnant before they do, just based on how they're shopping and how they're doing things. And then all of a sudden they're recommending baby stuff and they don't even know they're pregnant. And they're like, what is going on?
Prenatal vitamin. Why am I getting ads for a prenatal vitamin?
Yeah, exactly. Like, no other time in history has it ever been more real. If you seek, you will find.
There you go.
Right?
Fair enough.
Let me see what else. So definitely improve your nutrition, please. Not only for you, not only for your family, but for this earth. We need it. You know, we really do need it. And the more you improve your nutrition, the better your body is going to feel. Slow, you know, I still eat cookies, you know, like, you know, I'll drink a soda once, you know, every once in a while. Nobody's perfect, but just try to do the best you can. Eat real foods, more real foods than bad foods. And that's what's going to get your body aligned. Not just its physical way, but in its chemical way, like in its electrical way. Okay. And you know, the next thing is being barefoot, which we already talked about. Just be barefoot more often. Okay. And this is going to be difficult in the same way as if you've never exercised before. And if you go to a gym and lift a bunch of weights, things are going to be sore. Okay. And, you know, and that's what being barefoot is, you know, if you've lived with a handicap of those thick soles your whole life, being barefoot, your feet are going to be so stiff. Your feet will be so stiff that it's going to make your knees almost feel stiffer at first, but then that's going to wake up the whole system and be like, yo, something's got to change. We got to start relaxing shit. We got to start working shit, you know? And it's going to
just
make,
like any exercise routine or nutrition routine, you're going to have to give this some time to be realized, so to speak.
oh, there's like all these things, or most of them, will make you feel better immediately, but the real results are long-term. You know, it's like anything. Your knee pain didn't happen overnight.
That's
it's
right.
not going to go away overnight.
This will be an investment. These actions that you're taking are an investment.
Yeah. Nothing in this world you will ever get with real value is just going to just come with ease like that.
And
everything.
We used to think it was prescription medicines were exactly that.
Say what?
We used to think prescription pills were exactly that, the quick and easy.
Yeah,
but,
you know, and it's funny how nature is so much more powerful and so much more strong than we ever give it credit for. You know, when we get out of a line, Earth brings us back. You know, like if what we're doing with the chemicals and what's killing us is killing the Earth, you know, we are the Earth, you know, so right. Everything that you see in your environment is just a mirror, is just a reflection of what's going on inside.
Symbiosis.
Right? Yep. Yeah, exactly. You know, and we talk about Wim Hof breathing and cold shower, like that has helped me in all different aspects of my life. But when it comes down to knee pain itself, just the Wim Hof breathing, just the increase of oxygen and the increase of the blood flow and the increase of awareness, right? Because to really get true results, it takes awareness, okay? You know, and that's one thing that I learned from our chat with Andrew from Moveu, is that he preached awareness and mindfulness above alignment, you know, and that's so important, because if you go back to, if you research what it takes to be the best sports athlete, it's being what? Present. If it go back to being the best in your job, being present. Going back to being the best in relationships, it's being present. Going back to being the best in feeling your body, it's just being present. Don't avoid these feelings, but be present with how you're moving and how you're feeling. And know that if a pain is coming up, listen to it. Don't ignore it. Lay down, get on the ground, and listen to what your body's trying to tell you. And that's what Wim Hof breathing helped me so much, because it just increased my awareness. Like I was so much more aware throughout the day, to where I was aware of what was causing my pain. I was aware of my posture. I was aware of how I was moving. And I was practicing that with Wim Hof breathing every single day. And cold showers are just like, dude, that's just a supercharge of your whole entire body. You know, like we have more miles of vascular veins throughout our body than we do roads on this planet, right? And when we jump in that cold shower, every single one of those veins and, you know, our blood flow gets stronger. We wring out all that stagnant toxic inflammation that's in our body, and we get that fresh good stuff. And it improves our body's ability to get blood throughout our whole entire body. And blood and oxygen is what heals. So the cold showers and the Wim Hof breathing, that's just going to assist your body to be happier, healthier, and stronger, to be able to fight its combat, you know, to be able to combat its, I guess, challenge, which can be knee pain, which if you're having knee pain, all of these pains are our biggest opportunities, right?
Opportunity. I think that's a great perspective, Will, is that it's an opportunity. It is not something to be diminished or eliminated. It is something to be discovered. So that's a great perspective shift.
You know, and that's that belief shift that I had to learn, you know, is these pains were an opportunity, because look, this is not only going to give me a different insight, you know, a different understanding that I didn't have before, but it's going to allow me this extra strength, you know, this extra knowledge to not only get out of it for the future of something similar, but to help other people around me who are going through something similar. So here's my opportunity, going through all the pain and sweat and tears that I went through with my pain. Now I'm in an opportunity to be able to engage with people all over the world and to help them getting out of their pain. And I promise you, there's no better feeling than to taking something that you know and to helping out people around you.
Yeah, you're preaching a lot of the same principles I teach over at disruptcomfort.com. This is how we disrupt our comfort zone and lead ourselves into growth. So Will, you have a lot of other you've mentioned them along the way, but you have a set of references that I think are a great place for people to start. You want to go over those real quick?
Yeah. So when I was just writing out my notes of, what can I give you guys to help you guys? I thought I could give you guys what has helped me, and that's really what this is. So all the things that I've learned, I recommend you guys writing this stuff down and continuing to learning this process. Okay. And these are probably the best things that I've learned and I've used to kind of gain my understanding and gain my knowledge of what was going on. And so one is that Move You course. Look, if pain is running your life, you have to look into Move You. Okay. Like if you can't function, like if everyday body pain is a part of your every single day life that you can't get around, I recommend going to Move You, moveu.com, MOVEU.com.
And remember, they get a discount, Will.
Oh yeah. Was it to Disrupt Comfort?
If they put in Disrupt Comfort as a coupon code, they get what, 10% off? So
10 or 15% off actually.
Yeah.
Moveu.com. And that is a program that I bought. I spent my own money when I was lost, and I was like, look, these are the smartest guys that I can find when it comes to movement and getting out of pain. And Move You is really the way to go. Another thing is go on YouTube, and there's a documentary called Just Move by London Real on Ido Portal. And Ido Portal is IDO PORTAL. Ido Portal. Look up his documentary on London Real called Just Move. Another one is Dr. Zach Bush. He talks a lot about healing and regeneration, and even nutrition and diet, and how we can heal and regenerate ourselves by healing and regenerating our soils, which is really, really important. And Dr. Joe Dispenza, I'm sure you've heard of him, right, Edwin?
Absolutely.
What do you know about that guy?
Probably a key opinion leader. I mean, he's if you just Google anything and you'll find his name associated with that.
Yeah. So Dr. Joe Dispenza, man, he just kept me faithful, like during this time to where I was putting in all of this work, and I had my bad days where like my knee's still hurting after all this time, which is going to happen. Okay. When like listening to Joe Dispenza, it just brought the faith to realize like, look, we have the power that's within us to heal this. Like Dr. Joe Dispenza, he got in some gnarly car accident where they were telling him to get all this, like, I'm not sure. He might have been paralyzed or some crazy story. I don't want to.
He does have a crazy story.
Yeah. I don't want to ruin his story. Just look up Joe Dispenza, and he's a doctor. Like he was a regular practicing doctor, and he's just teaching a lot of really awesome things about just the capabilities of humans which weren't thought of as possible before. And then another one is all of these habits and routines. I put them into that Happy, Healthy, Strong in 6-week course, So I have that available at thewillgrant.com. My Happy, Healthy, Strong in 6 weeks. That's where I have all the squat sits, all the glute bridges, all the balancing, all the stuff that I use to get out of that pain myself. It's all in there. And not only that, but I want to give it away to one person for free this week. I gave it to, I believe it was Lydia last week, and I want to give it to one more person this week. And I love the idea that you gave me last week, Edwin, is I want you guys to get into my group, Will Grant group on Facebook, okay? And I want you to post photos or videos of you working on these things, okay? And I'm gonna pick one person who I feel like is putting in the most effort, engaging the most in the group, posting a video of them doing the squat sits, of them doing the bridges, of them doing, the glute pops or the clam shells or even the balancing or even the Wim Hof for trying to improve their nutrition. Post that in that group, that Will Grant group, and I'm going to be giving away that Happy, Healthy, Strong for completely free.
Yeah, you think we'll start doing Facebook Lives in that group, kind of simulcasting what we're doing here, perhaps, so that people can catch it in different ways?
Yo, that's a good idea. I don't know anything about it, but if you know about it or if anybody knows about it, leave in the comments. I mean, I'm welcome to learn any new any new ways to improve what we're doing, I'm all up for. So yeah, I'm so down to go live on Facebook and do it in this way too. I think that's a really good idea.
Excellent. Yeah, I think it'll help Facebook engagement and all kinds of stuff if we stay on their platform too. So,
do we have any questions? I noticed there wasn't too many questions. If you guys have any questions about this, leave it in the comments below. If you're live or if you're watching the recorded on YouTube, because it is really my pleasure to take all this that I've learned and to be able to help you guys just from my experience. So if you guys have any questions or comments, just put them in there below, and we're going to do our best to answer them, because like I said, my intention is to bring up every single one of us by bringing myself up, by bringing you up. We're in this together.
Absolutely. Yeah, Braden, Gary, thank y'all for being here today. That's awesome. Will, I see no questions in the queue, but you know what? A lot of people are going to watch this on YouTube. Make sure you question down below in YouTube as well.
Yes, sir.
You're always looking at that, Will, and you always respond. I love that about you.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pretty good. Like a couple times a week, I'll go through all the comments that I'm getting on YouTube, and even on Facebook, I'll do it. And I'll just do my best to answer any questions I see coming up. And so, yeah, if you are watching the content, put in your comments, put in any questions that you may have, or maybe something that you've been noticing along your journey that could help other people just reading the comments.
Yeah, and please share this video. If you know somebody who lives in chronic pain, give them the code to the YouTube replay.
Yeah. Oh, if you know anybody with knee pain, share this video.
Absolutely.
Share this video. If you love and care, because look, I love and care about every single one of you guys. That's what I'm here doing, right? Because you are me, I am you. We're in this together, and if you want to help other people, share this video with somebody that you know. We all know somebody with knee pain, right? We almost all know somebody with knee pain. So give this video a share, and next thing you know, they might show up. They're a little bit happier, they're a little bit healthier, and then they're bringing that good energy, that good vibration onto you, and then that's how we come up in the world.
Happy, healthy, strong. That's a great mantra, Will. I love it. Well, Will, this has been an absolute pleasure to be with you once again. Be sure to check back with chatwithwillgrant.com for the next date and time for another live opportunity with you.
Yeah. I'm hoping to do next Thursday again. Actually, next Saturday, I am in Rock Hill. I will let you know on the next time.
I'll have my people call your people, and we'll get a date scheduled very soon. But you'll always find us at chatwithwillgrant.com.
Yeah, you can always go reserve your spot no matter what the topic may be. Go to chatwithwillgrant.com. It'll probably be open, probably by the end of the day.
Yeah, at the end of this recording for sure. So, yeah, it happens pretty quick.
So go and sign up. We're talking about all things breath, movement, nutrition, permaculture, growing our own food, anything that is going to help us evolve to our greatest selves, to help us as a species evolve to all of our greatest selves. That's what we're about, sharing ideas and becoming a better version of ourselves.
Awesome. Will, this is a pleasure. Again, I'm Dr. Edwin Adams from disruptcomfort.com, and everybody knows this guy, the Will Grant. Good to see you, brother.
All right, man. I'm glad to be here, and I'll see you guys next week.
All righty. Peace out, everybody.